my cast iron pan here with 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and I just added there half a tablespoon of butter. The combination of butter and olive oil, the butter brings that creaminess, the olive oil allows for the butter not to burn. To that I'm gonna add scallion, bell pepper, some fresh thyme out of the garden. And if you've been following the series, this is episode 3 of my 3-part egg omelette series, Egg Omelette Three Ways, and I urge you to go back and watch those videos. They're very good in my humble opinion. And all we want to do is sort of soften this up. What I also have is 2, I'm going to use 2, I have 3, but of these sort of chili peppers, and that is a wild pepper that just grew up in my garden. I sliced it in half. I like my omelette to have a little bit of kick to it. Grew up wild in my garden. I think it's a cross between a white habanero and a bird's eye pepper that I had in the backyard. So it grew up wild this year, and it's got a lovely flavor, and the kick isn't as severe as your typical hot pepper. Fresh ground black pepper. My heat is just a little bit too high, so I'm going to turn it down ever so slightly and let that go for about 1.5 minutes just for everything to soften up. And an egg omelette is all about adding those sort of flavors that you like. Yeah? Well, flavors and textures as well too. So I have some cherry tomato that I just added in there. Unfortunately, those are not from my garden. All the cherry tomatoes I grew this year, well, I didn't get a lot in the garden. It's all done now. Just going to soften that up, and I reserved a few pieces just to put on the top. As with most omelets, which is folded, I'm going to leave this one open face because I'm going to serve it in this cast iron pan on the table, and this will be enough for about 2 or 3 people. If you have some baked beans on the side, if you have some sausages and toast and stuff like that. So what I would recommend, if your cast iron isn't properly seasoned, you notice that nice glow that you're seeing there? This is properly seasoned, which means it's non-stick. If not, use a non-stick frying pan, and you can cut back a bit on the amount of fat that you add in here. So the amount of olive oil and butter. But do add the butter though. It gives the eggs a nice creamy flavor. I'm going to add a bit of sea salt in here, and I won't be seasoning the egg with any salt. And speaking about the eggs, I have 3 large eggs. I'm just going to use a fork, and I'm going to mix that, whisk it. Use a whisk if you wanted to. The fork is something I grew up seeing my mom use, so I adopted it as my own as well too. And by whipping it like this, you're going to create air bubbles in there, which would make the omelette very fluffy at the end. So yeah, try and I'm just going to hit that a tiny bit more black pepper in there, and I'm going to hit the eggs and black pepper as well. Just going to turn my heat back up to medium. Move this around just one more time. And as I add the eggs to the pot here, to the pan, give it another little whisk. Pull that down in there. Make sure everything is nice and cozy up in the pot here, in the pan. And I'm just going to move it around like so. And all we're trying to do now is to allow that to sort of tighten up, firm up. Oh, you don't want to hold a cast iron pan with your bare hands, Uncle Chris. You're going cuckoo on me there, boy. As it starts to firm up there, what I like to do, and we have some of the best nutmeg in the world. Grenada, stand up and hold all this solid. Some of the best nutmeg in the world comes from Grenada. Caribbean things again. As that start to firm up there, I'm going to turn my heat down just a tiny bit because I don't want it to burn on the bottom. You can flip it and stuff like that if you want, but what I like doing is placing my tomato just to brighten it up a little bit, because after all we do eat with our eyes first. Get it nice in there. Uncle Chris, you're taking kind of slow again. Oh, here there is, boy, some chives. So we're just gonna sprinkle some of that chives all over it, and that's gonna give it, you know, the scallion will give it that onion flavor. The chives will give it that garlicky flavor. Cheese, yeah, looks like a little bit of cheese. But in my humble opinion, a little bit of cheese goes a long way in an omelet. Now, that is not the typical Caribbean way of thinking. Caribbean people love the cheese, and that is just grated, freshly grated white cheddar. What I like doing at this point to help it firm up, I'm gonna put a lid on there from any pot. Here you can see it doesn't belong there, but I'm gonna leave that in there for it to tighten up and cook a bit for about 3 minutes. Sup, soldiers? Listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me. Email address down here. I mean, trying to tell people the email address, them butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pot. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irie? Just gonna remove the lid now, and you can see it puffed up a little bit. The cheese has melted. Turn off the stove. Yo, it's properly well done. I want to show you something. This pan is so seasoned. I can lift the egg omelette. Notice? I'm able to lift it off the bottom there. Nothing is sticking. Hey, Uncle Chris saying season finale, Egg Omelette 3 Ways. I do hope you will enjoy this sort of little soup. Let me turn off the stove. I ain't trying to overcook my eggs now, no? The retaining heat on this here will further cook it. Yeah, you notice I finish off with another one of them little peppers. I'm gonna enjoy that. I do hope you all enjoyed this series. If you do, please leave a comment down below. If you'd like to see more egg recipes, I have a few more egg recipes I wanted to share with you all. Not specifically Caribbean, but great ways to, enjoy a nice breakfast on the weekend. Irie? Irie.